Hi guys, Varda here. Welcome back to my channel. This was the card we saw last time where we took solid stamped images and we added pencil details and we created a bunch of flowers during that time. I wanted to use those and take the card making to another level, just add one extra detail to the card design and just change their entire look. So, what you see me do here is I'm planning out my cards. This is something I do very often, and trust me, this doesn't come. I mean, it comes easy to me, but I get so many ideas that I get carried away. So this is how I plan my stuff. I decide what sentiments I want, every little detail of all these cards, and then I'm starting with the first one. The idea to add that extra detail to this card is to add a pop of color by adding ink blending, and this pop of color will help me drive somebody's focus just to my focal point. I know I often create and I like white on white cards. That is what it would be without adding this color, but today I decided to experiment just a little bit and add that pop of color. Nothing fancy. The standard rules of ink blending apply, where you build color slowly. So you go from light to dark. Typically that's what I like to do. Build color slowly, especially since these are not distress inks or not distress oxide inks. If it were those two inks, then it's probably a little bit easier. They're a little more forgiving because you can add water and make them react to it and then bloat that water out. With these inks, I'm not going to try bringing in water. I don't even know whether they react to water. So I'm playing it safe. I'm adding color slowly, going from the lightest shade to the darkest shade, as you see me do here. Another thing is with florals, I feel like the background color can be a couple different things. Like what I am doing, you could probably do a blue or a green background for that matter, because blue sky, like you have flowers and then from behind the flowers you have sky. That's what this particular card looks like. You could do it that way, or you could have green like in a meadow and there are flowers and then the green is that meadow in the background. You could even do brown. I don't really know, and I'm finding it a little bit hard to imagine at this point what some very different colors like say purple or those kind of colors will look. Also at some point I think I will experiment with blue as my flowers and say red as my background, something like that, which is not usually found in nature. In nature we typically find blue on larger objects, right? Either it is sky or ocean or maybe green in an expanse of color, or maybe brown in an expanse of colors. Colors like purple are not that evident as a background, so for these cards I'm just sticking to what I find in nature, and I'm making sure that I'm using my background color in several different ways, but always driving the attention to my focal point. In the first card you saw me just do it at a corner level. It can be any corner. Just because my arrangement was in the top left corner, I just added my color around that corner. With this one I want to go from center out, because the design here is going to be like a frame where the flowers and the leaves are coming out of that frame. And what you see me do here is initially I marked with a very light pencil just where that color needs to go. I laid the frame on top, I marked just bare minimum lines, and then I added color, again ink blended from lightest to darkest. And what you see me do here now is that my frame was a little bit wonky. I used two different rectangle dies to create this very slim frame, and I think I offset on one side. So my one side of the frame was slightly thicker than the other. I used my get-in trimmer to just adjust that. And then I am adding all these flowers like they are coming out from that frame. And again, rest of the card is white. The color blue is bringing everybody's attention, or the recipient's attention, to the focal point. the focal point itself is colorful and the background color is driving attention to it, instead of having a whole blue card and then just adding flowers into it. So the technique here, what I'm trying to do is add color to drive attention, add background color to drive attention to your focal point. We saw two different ways. One is from the corner coming in, the other is from the center out. The third way we could do this is actually bring the color from outside to the focal point. So everywhere around that focal point is very dark or has that background color, so to say, and then the actual focal point is the brightest spot. I have seen Yana Smukula do this often, where she uses, like, say, either heat embossing or maybe just some glittery or glimmer kind of focal points, and then everything around that focal point is really dark. She adds ink blending from all sides. So I wanted to go for that look. In fact, in my head I was still thinking that white on white looks good, because if you see me, it's like I like clean, I like white on white, but I wanted to push it just a little bit, push myself out of the outside my comfort zone and try this out. So I did the same ink blending technique, where I went from the lightest color to the darkest color, making sure I blend everything and leave the white in the center. I was being careful so that the ink on my fingertips doesn't smudge where I don't want that blob of ink to come, sort of, but I was just doing my regular ink blending, making sure that the middle portion is the lightest, which means it has either no color at all or very, very light color, and then the color, the blue, is actually coming from outside in. I know my card base and the front and the back, both the edges also got tinted blue, but I really didn't mind. I liked it. In fact, I really liked it, so I just left it like that. And once I was happy with however the color looked, once I had blended out all the different hues of blue, so to say, and was happy with the color, then I brought in my focal point and then I added the flowers in the middle, the ampersand and the flowers in the middle. I also added love and hugs as two more words, which I did with a fishtail banner. The last project I wanted to create is actually a journal page or mini art journal page. What I've done here is I've used same kind of inks and one extra ink. I will link it down below. I think it is some kind of a gray or steel ink from Simon Says Stamp, and I have done stenciling, ink blending through a stencil, and then I have stamped the compass image couple different times, once in blue and once in gray, just to give it that added interest. What I felt was, with the gold happy that I created and the flowers being gold and orange or pink or whatever, that blue and gray was looking slightly out of place, so to say. So I added one strip of washi tape or colorful tape, which is tying the gold with the black, or gold with the gray in fact, and that gray on that compass is again looking like it is part of the design. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So what I did was just added this as a border, and now I'm arranging the flowers, and as you can tell, these are the same flowers where I have added pencil details. They are not just flat images anymore. Same thing with the leaves. I'm just making a cluster of these flowers, adding a bunch of leaves, and then for my sentiment or motivational quote over here, I will use the happy that I created and a sentiment from the Create Your Own Happy stamp set that says create your own, and instead of the happy stamp I will use the happy die cut. What you saw me do just now was also something I often like to do. If there is a long branch and if I feel like a lot or a significant part of it is getting hidden by something else like flowers, I simply disconnect them and use them separately. So if I had left the branch as it is, that big leaf, I would have lost it. It would have gone under the flower. So I just separated them, and once I have my flowers placed correctly or the way I want them, I will tuck in the leaf so that a whole lot of it doesn't get just hidden, and I will be able to make use of that stamped image. So that is my floral cluster. As you can tell, I'm also trying to hide some abnormalities. I hope I'm saying that word right, in my die cutting. So some of the flowers, the way I had die cut them was offset. So on one side it has a white border, on the other side it did not have much of a white border. So I tucked those wrong die cut wrong die cut edges under the other flowers, and now nobody has to know. I'm deciding where to put that happy. As you can see, I have laid out the gold glitter letters on vellum just so that they can stand out a little bit more. I'll tuck those letters just behind the flowers, tuck that word just behind the flowers, and I've added glue only to the part where it won't show through. I think this is a clear glue though, it won't show through, but I don't want to take any chances. And that create your own, I've used a tiny little banner to die cut it out. It's the same mini journal on which I had showcased a page last time. This is my second page. I'm very happy with this. I hope you liked all these projects, and I hope it gives you a little more idea on how you can take your flowers or any focal point for that matter, add a little bit of color and bring more interest to your background. Again, the location of the focal point doesn't matter. You have different ways, from the corner, from the center, from the outside in, all different ways to play with colors. And I hope it also gives you some ideas of what kind of colors you can use for background. Most likely I would prefer to stay to what we find in nature, or I would pick one of the colors that is already on one of my focal points, and I would stick to those. But I think it's okay to experiment, right? This, after all, this is just crafting and having fun. So I hope you get time to enjoy yourself and craft, and I hope my videos are inspiring you. I would love to hear your feedback, so don't hesitate to share. Thank you so much for your support. You have a great day. Bye.